Hello everyone, I am Navapallav Deka and my presentation is on a study on the adequacy of column beam capacity ratio. Fundamentally, the column beam capacity ratio is the ratio of the combined flexural strength of the columns to the combined flexural strength of the beams in a particular joint. In elastic design for the whole building to behave elastically, the design would be very uneconomical. Hence the concept of capacity design came into effect. Capacity design basically incorporates the concept of strong column weak beam. In simpler terms, it means that the column strength has to be more than the beam strength for the hinges to be formed in the beams and not the columns for proper strength of the building and proper safety of the building. Now, many scholars have proposed various relations in this regard. Jain et al. Proposed that for proper safety, the combined flexural strength of the columns has to be at least 1.1 times the combined flexural strength of the beams in a particular joint. Also, Nakashima observed that for steel buildings, the column overstrength factor increases with increase in ground motion amplitude for ensuring proper column elastic responses. Now, the review of the various codes. Now, various codes from various countries have established various relations for the column beam capacity ratio. The American Standard Code ACI suggests that the combined flexural strength of the column should be at least 1.2 times the combined flexural strength of the beams in a particular joint. Mathematically, it can be expressed as shown in the figure. Now, the European Code suggests that this relation, the ratio should be at least 1.3. That is, the combined flexural strength of the column should be at least 1.3 times the combined flexural strength of the beams. The Indian Draft Standard Code. The issue of prevention of anchorage and shear failure in joint regions during strong ground motion is not as suitably addressed in the design and detailing recommendations of the Indian Standard Codes. Because of this limitation, Jain et al. Proposed a provision in draft for inclusion in IS 13920/1993, which says that the ratio for the column and beam strength should be at least 1.1. Another draft for IS 13920/2014 says that the summation of nominal flexural strength of columns meeting in a joint along each principal plane should be minimum of 1.4 times the summation of the flexural strength of the beams in a particular joint. If this criteria is not met, the columns are considered to be only gravity columns and they do not take part in the lateral moment or lateral forces resisting action. Down the methodology that has been adopted for this study. Basically, one simple plan was considered, and for that simple plan, 3 different buildings are considered. The first building was of 5 stories, the second building was of 10 stories, and the third building was of 15 stories. Now, to keep a uniformity among all the buildings, some basic considerations were made. Basically, there were 2 considerations. The first was that the reinforcement percentage in all the columns was kept at around 3 to 4%, and the reinforcement percentage in beam was kept at around 1 to 2% per phase. The second consideration that was made was that the original CB ratio of all the joints was maintained at around 1.3 or more. That is, the CB ratio should be minimum of 1.3 and more than that. The background earthquake that was used for the study was Kobe earthquake 1995. The magnitude of the earthquake was 7.2 on the Richter scale. Now, the results that have been obtained from the study. Now, when the 3 buildings were subjected to time history analysis, it was seen that the 5-story building and the 10-story building did not suffer any failures in the columns. When the 15-story building was subjected to time history analysis, there were many failures in melee columns at various places. This picture shows the predefined CB ratios in all the joints in a typical frame. The next picture shows the formation of hinges in the columns. The hinges here are not very distinct due to poor quality of the picture. Conclusion. From the current study, it can be concluded that the CODAL provisions for CB ratio for capacity design of buildings with predefined percentages of steel in beams and columns and predefined CB ratios in all the joints of the building is not adequate for tall RC frame structures. Thank you.